Mesechus Círoבין, Perek Rishon, Mishnah Aleph. The Mishnah begins by describing how one makes a tikkun on the fourth wall of a movoi. The movoi, as we mentioned in our introduction, has chatzeros, courtyards, opening into it, and the fourth side is open to the Rishus Harabim. Strangely, the Mishnah does not begin to tell you positively how you will mesakein the fourth wall with a beam. That really comes in the second Mishnah. The first Mishnah begins to tell you if you have a beam but it is misplaced, what you should do about it. The Gemara asks this question as to why we begin the Masechta with telling us how to repair something rather than telling you how to be mashra in the first place. And the Gemara distinguishes between the Masechta of Círoבין and the Masechta of Sukkah, where we have a similar Mishnah at the beginning of Masechta Sukkah. And there in Masechta Sukkah it tells you straight away what should be the height of a sukkah, whereas in Círoבין it tells you if the height of the sukkah is incorrect, then you're mesakein it. And the Gemara says in one of the terutzim that because sukkah is midiraisa, it tells you the basic din, and because the beam on the fourth wall of a movoi is a din drabonon, it puts it in this form which we have mentioned. Let us begin the Mishnah. Movoi shu gavoa lemala mi'esrim amo. A movoi where the beam has been placed on the two opposite mechitzas enclosing the fourth wall, but it is higher than 20 amas. 20 amas is roughly 36 feet. Yumayit, it's got to be lowered. Why does it have to be lowered? Because according to the opinion of the Tanakama, the purpose of a kura closing the fourth wall is because it is the kura acts as a heker, as a recognition for the people inside the movoi that they should realize that without something on the fourth wall, that we've got to treat this movoi and give it the same status as a Rishus Harabim. Where there is some sort of heker, some sort of recognition on the fourth side, in addition to the three proper walls on the three other sides of the movoi, then that is adequate for the purposes of enclosing the movoi. So the Mishnah says if it is higher than 20 amas, then you must lower it, because higher than 20 amas, the einolo sholtabo, the eye of the people inside the movoi will not catch it. It's not eye-catching enough. The Gemara says this concept of 20 amas is in fact learnt out from the height of the heichol in the Beis Hamikdash, which was 20 amas high. In addition, the Gemara says that since the reason of the Tanakama is that the kura should be easily recognized, if the kura has some design on it, engravings or some pictures, Gemara calls this an amalsaro, then it would be effective even if the beam were higher than 20 amas. It would still catch the eye and it would serve the purpose as a tikkun for the movoi. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, the Mishnah continues, Rabbi Yehuda disagrees with the Tanakama. He is of the opinion that the kura works not midin heker, not as a recognition, something to catch the eye of the members of the movoi, but it works because it is in fact a mechitza. Therefore it's irrelevant as to how high it is. If it's a mechitza, well, pitikro yored v'sosem, the kura blocks off the movoi, and that's all we're concerned with. Whether the individuals in the Movoi can see the Korah easily or not so easily is not relevant according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Eino Tzorech. Vorachav me'esa amos yemait. If the gap between the two mechitzas on the fourth side is wider than 10 amos, then it has to be reduced. The Korah is ineffective. Why is the Korah ineffective? Because up to Esa amos, we can consider the gap of anything less than 10 amos to be like a doorway, a Pesach. A Pesach, an opening in the wall. If it goes beyond 10 amos, if it's wider than 10 amos, then it is considered to be a pirza, a breach in the wall. And if it's a breach in the wall, then a Korah is not sufficient to bridge the gap, so to speak, and we need a tzuras ha-pesach, which will be described in a moment. And the Mishnah says, "Ve'im yeshlo tzuras ha-pesach." However, if there is a tzuras ha-pesach, what is a tzuras ha-pesach? Tzuras ha-pesach is a lechi mikan and a lechi mikan, two vertical posts, and on top of these posts, directly overhead, you have a further cross post. It could be a post, it could be even a wire, it doesn't have to have any particular shear. In contrast to the Korah, we'll see later, requires a significant shear, which will be discussed in the later Mishnah. But a tzuras ha-pesach works even if the gap is wider than 10 amos, and I might add, it works even higher than if the height of the movi is beyond 20 amos. The tzuras ha-pesach is effective, is much more effective than a Korah. For that reason, the Ramah says that the minhag is, the custom is, that we are masakein all breaches, both in the chotzer and in the movoi, wherever possible, with a tzuras ha-pesach, because it is a much more effective way of breaching the gap. Afal pishu rachav me'esa amos, even if the gap is wider than 10 amos, ein tzorich l'mayit, one doesn't have to reduce it, because the tzuras ha-pesach is valid even if the breach in the wall is wider than 10 amos. In contrast to a Korah, a beam, that is only effective if the gap is less than 10 amos. That concludes the first Mishnah.